Welcome to Pets Pondering. Today I'm going to read you a short story from Chicken Soup for the Soul, Miraculous Messages from Heaven. This one is Miracle of the Green Tide. When you open your mind to the impossible, sometimes you find the truth. That was from the television show Fringe, which I'm not familiar with that one. And the story is, I'm a nurse. I always believed in science, not miracles. That is, until I experienced one of my own. It happened one August day, walking the shoreline from Red Rock in Swampscott, Massachusetts, to the Tides, a restaurant in nearby The Hunt. I had done this nearly every day that summer. But that day, dismal and gray, was different, sadder, for it marked the 10th anniversary of Dad's fatal stroke. With each step, I relived that pain. Back then, I'd just returned home from errands and casually lit the answering machine. Your dad has been rushed to the Springfield Hospital. We found him on the floor. It was a neighbor of his. I think he had a stroke. I grabbed some things for the 2.5-hour drive. Mom was away visiting family at Charleston, South Carolina. My brother lived in Texas and my sister in Myrtle Beach. Dad, a vibrant 78-year-old, walked and played golf almost daily. He did all of his household chores and was repairing the porch roof. Months earlier, he had cheered us as I graduated as a nurse practitioner. When I saw Dad, I knew it wasn't good. He had suffered a massive stroke. His entire right side was paralyzed. He couldn't sit, speak, or swallow. But he was alive and his eyes showed relief. His daughter, his nurse, had arrived. Luckily, he understood me. Daddy, you're going to be okay, I repeated, trying to hide the fears in my eyes. I phoned my mother and siblings. That night, and for most of the next 14, I stayed by his side. Dad could not tell me what he wanted or needed, frustrating us both. Then, I gave him a pad and put a pen in his left hand. He scratched out a few words. Dad was still there. Dad was so ill that he couldn't make his own health care decisions. The doctor explained that he needed a health care proxy to authorize someone to make health care decisions. Dad, who should this be? Slowly but clearly he wrote, Bonnie, my childhood nickname, is in charge. Over the next few days, Dad seemed to improve, and that weekend he rallied. With support, he sat up to enjoy time with his wife, children, and grandchildren. As we were leaving for dinner, he teasingly wrote, make sure Dick, my brother, picks up the check. Dad always had a fondness for greenbacks. Surely he must be getting better, I thought, if he's thinking about money. Dad still could neither eat nor swallow. A tube in his nose was giving him liquid nutrition, but it was only temporary. Now he had to decide if the permanent tube should be put in his stomach. Would Dad want that? I recalled our talks about his wishes. I carefully weighed the benefits and risks of such a procedure. My mom, brother, and I were uneasy about it, but my sister in Myrtle Beach insisted. You just can't starve him to death. In the end, Dad went to the OR. After many long hours, he was rolled back on a stretcher, a permanent feeding tube in his abdomen. I looked at his face. The pain was obvious. His eyes spoke. Why did you let them do this to me? I was shaken. Had I let Dad down? The next day, his condition worsened. He was burning with fever and was not responding to my voice. He couldn't sit, write, or communicate in any way. The antibiotics were ineffective. A brain scan confirmed that he had suffered another, more severe stroke with irreversible brain hemorrhaging, causing all of basic life functions to quickly fail. There was nothing more that could be done, the doctor said. I thought about my grandmother. Dad had found her collapsed from a stroke, and she died within weeks. Dad said it was for the best. She wouldn't have wanted to live like that, completely dependent on others. Neither would he said. I recalled our talks about the difficult end-of-life decisions made by my patients and their families. He'd listen, then had nonchalantly said, "When my time comes, you know best what to do for me." Nothing was ever written. It was understood then. It was understood now. Being a devout Catholic, Mom consulted the priest, then calmly said, "We can't let Dad continue to suffer. We have to let him go in peace." Dad's care now changed from curing to care, comfort, and dignity. The antibiotics and tube feedings, no longer helpful, were stopped. His only medication was for the comfort. This decision was too excruciating for my sister in Myrtle Beach, who shrieked, "Who do you think you are, Dr. Kevorkian?" But Dad was our focus. In his final journey, we chose the path of least suffering. He'd been there for me at my birth, and I would be with him at his death. We all four said our final goodbyes. In the end, he left on his terms, in a brief, peaceful moment, with Mom, his love, by his side. Now, 10 years later, I walked the shoreline, recalling my sister's words and anguish in Dad's face when he returned from the OR. Had I let Dad down? I softly sobbed. All that summer, I'd walked the beach, finding treasures, starfish, shells, dollars, or sand dollars, a green bottle, and an unopened green can of beer, and green seagrass. I even found a denture with inlaid gold initials, but never any money. So being my father's daughter, I thought, "Dad, if I did the right thing, please send me a sign. Let me find some real money." Just then, sloshing through the area called the red tide, really harmless red algae. I looked down, a green $1 bill. "Wow," I chuckled. "But gee, Dad, couldn't you do better, more like $100? No sooner had I giggled, and there it was, another green bill. I reached down, and it was a $100 bill. Oh my gosh, this couldn't be real. Was it a fluke, or was it the sign that I had been seeking? I shook my head in disbelief. Could a ship have sunk in the harbor? Not feasible. Could someone have lost their wallet on the surf? Not likely. Could someone have been robbed? Nothing about it in the paper. I needed to find one more dollar to prove this was real. I had to prove this was not some strange coincidence. So I searched, turned over red algae. Not another dollar appeared. I drove home, stunned. Who finds $100 on the beach? The next day I walked the same shoreline, puzzled and uncertain. Then I passed through that red algae. There it was, another dollar. This was no coincidence. I knew then. The red tide had turned to green money. A sign from Dad, that I had not let him down. From that moment, I felt at peace. I still believe in science. I'm still skeptical about many things. I still think of my father, and I miss him. But now I am a nurse who believes in miracles. It was written by Barbara Poremba. Yeah. We look for signs from someone we've lost. And as a grief counselor, I have heard people's stories. But let me tell you one that happened to me last week. Now, my dear sister passed away in November of 22. I was in her sewing room, cleaning the room out because the house has been sold and we needed to clear that room. And I'm in there by myself and I'm packing things up, and I just get this feeling in the room, the energy. I could feel that she was there with me, and she was happy, and she was glad that I was taking care of it. I could feel her so strong. She didn't talk to me, she didn't touch me, but her presence was there, her energy was there. I do believe they watch over us. I do believe they come back and touch us. That was a sign for me. I have been asking for her to come to me. That was her way of coming to me and letting me know everything was okay. She was sick for a long time, 4 years, but she's at peace now. And I just thank God for the relationship that I had with her. I miss her dearly, and I will forever love her. That's Pat's Pondering for today. Love your people. You never know when that day's going to come and they're going to be gone. I'm older. I was supposed to go first. Thank you. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.